Hello and welcome. You're watching NewsX. I'm Rishabh Gulati. Now, over the past 6 months, into a couple of hundred episodes now, we have been putting appointment primetime viewing. We are now through the new year, we are through the new budget, and we have to now examine still the imperative question: what makes 2021 hopefully the bigger year than even 1991 was, when we are looking at a different kind of India with a different kind of economic impetus? What builds it? The purpose of this mission campaign here, which we do in partnership with Business World, has to be to ask these questions of what is and are and will be the fundamental constructors of a new India. People who are entrepreneurs, people who take risk and become wealth creators, who come up with ideas that serve all of us and build the economy. If the purpose of the government is to get out of the way of these people, support them when required, but principally understand and realize that they will make a $5 trillion economy. And for all of us to lose this absolute fantasy that we have, that is only when Indians go abroad that they manage to achieve something in their lives. Well, many of them are achieving big things right here, if we only as an audience gave them a fair chance to hear out their products and services. Let me introduce the panel this evening. Joining us on the broadcast, Kapil Agarwal, he is Joint MD of UFO. Rahul Puri, he is MD of Mukta Arts. Kailash Adhikari, he is the MD of Governance now. Savita Raj Hiremat, she is the Director of Tandav Film Entertainment. And as always, Dr. Anurag Batra, Chairman and Editor-in-Chief of Business World, is with us. Dr. Batra, set this up for us.
Today we are discussing the revival of cinema halls, the revival of the movie business, and I can say that the entertainment industry, the cinema industry and the movie industry competes with the hospitality industry in terms of the neglect in the budget. These are two industries that were ravaged in the COVID times, and they haven't really seen any attention in terms of sectoral incentives for either their sector, except for the fact that cinema halls have been allowed to open to 100% capacity. At least the central government has given that directive. As you know, cinema are a state subject. Subsequently, each state has to look at its own environment and where it is with COVID to be able to give a directive to keep 100% occupancy in cinema hall. And again, Rishabh, strangely enough, in the cinema business, it was a chicken and egg story. There was no content to put out in cinema halls. The cinema halls were closed because they're a contact industry, so to say. So it was a chicken and egg story. So today we have all the stakeholders represented on this panel with Mr. Kapil Agarwal. Kapil ji, exhibitor, if I had to. And then during COVID times, you pivoted and you became also a distributor, because you said you got to be part of the solution and not the problem. Give us a sense of what is the kind of loss you've seen over the last 10.5 months. And as this welcome announcement comes from the government to allow 100% occupancy in cinema halls, what kind of roadmap we see ahead?
In terms of the loss, first of all, thank you for having me on this panel, Anurag and Rishabh. In terms of the loss, if broadly we see, the total box office collection last year was approximately 14,500 crores. So 10 months, state multiplication, if I keep the same number, although I think this year industry was doing better, straight away 12,000 crore is the box office loss itself. And add another couple of thousand crores for loss of advertisement and the F&B revenue. So I would say 14 to 15,000 crore rupees is the loss. Of course, some of the content went to OTT. So to that extent, maybe 1,000 crore or so, 2,000 crore was made up from there. So roughly 14,000 crore is the total loss so far as this part is concerned.
Okay. And give us your own journey in terms of you pivoted from being Twitter, you continued to that, but since it was in abeyance, you chose to be. Give us a sense of what kind of traction it saw. And the $1 trillion question is, filmmakers like again Rahul has a twin role. He produces content. He also has exhibition business in terms of a certain kind of multiplexes. And Savita is a content creator. Kailash is Sri Adhikari brothers is a content creator. The $1 trillion question is OTT releases for big movies became a norm because there was no other choice. Now, do you see movies will start getting released in cinema theaters like old world, or it will be a hybrid model? Give us a sense of what is the kind of future you see in the near term future.
So we are the, I would say, the largest digital cinema operator in the country. So we basically connect the content. We act as the most important conduit between the content and the exhibition. So all the content comes to us. We digitize it. We, downloads all movies into theaters via satellite. The theaters get it. So because of this digital cinema, earlier when movies used to go to 100, 200 screens, 50 screens, blockbusters would go to 500 screens. Now movies go to like thousands of screens. Like Bahubali did 500, 600.
But Mr. Agarwal, one of the logic was that, because of OTT, because of digital, this limitation of 2,000, 3,000, 5,000 didn't matter. Now it became a global scale. It became, you would focus on the north or the south. And as you know that most of the box office collections, Mumbai/Maharashtra and, Northern India/Delhi. So these two markets are pretty much 80% of the box office collection. So the logic was that digital enables you to have a scale that not even digital distribution or traditional cinemas allow. So give us a sense of how do you see it over the next few months?
So let me tell you, first of all, I think movies number one, the stars are made on the big screen. Stars are not made on the small screen. Stars are not made on the OTT platforms. Some of the big films.
One could argue, but I won't.
I will take all the arguments, sir. But all I'm trying to say is that if the case in point is that some of the big movies released in OTT platforms and they just went largely unnoticed. Nobody watched those movies because the euphoria which is created, the directors, the producers, the stars which are made on the big screen, the experience of the big screen is completely different. Say it was the movies going during the pandemic to the small screen, to the OTT platforms, what pretty. This aberration is here to stay. I'm not saying that this aberration will completely disappear. But at the same time, movies were always made. You always saw the OTT originals on the OTT platform. So movies were always made for the OTT platforms. Right now, some of the producers, their investment was made. They were bearing high finance cost. So they had, since there was no visibility of the cinemas reopening, they decided to go to the OTT platforms. But look at the number of movies which are still not released on the OTT platform. Savita ji is sitting on one of the big movies and she has not decided to release it on the OTT platforms. Look at Suryavanshi, 83, Chehre. There are so many big movies which are sitting, which have decided totally against the OTT platform because they know that they don't want to go unnoticed. Secondly,
I also add one point here. OTT is still very selective. Okay. So OTT is more for metros and more for mini metros, not beyond. So the film which I'm sitting on is for masses. You can't get on OTT, which I feel is very for larger audience halls. That kind of penetration of OTT is still not there.
Absolutely, and see,
I agree.
The moment.
Come to you, let this complete it. Then come.
And the moment cinema halls opened, look at what happened to a movie like Master. I mean, did 200 crore plus of collection with 50% capacity utilization. So people are willing to go to the theaters. Now there were 2-3 issues. One issue was that the perception in the content community was there were two apprehensions. One apprehension in the content community, the producers, was that whether if we release the movie, whether the people will come back to the theaters or not. I think with the release of Master, that is completely taken care of. People know
absolutely
that the content, the people will come. There is no fear of COVID. And I want to put it on record here worldwide, not only in India, worldwide, not a single COVID case has been reported from the multiplexes or from the theaters. While the common perception is that you are sitting inside a closed environment, in the air-conditioned environment, and the spread of virus will be higher, not one single case has been reported worldwide from the theater. So that was one apprehension. The second was the apprehension is taken care of. The second was for the content, whether is the capacity. Now, in the south has been Tamil Nadu released, declared 100% capacity utilization even before the center came up. But rest of the country, like you yourself pointed out, you see today so number one, 60% of major revenue doesn't come from Bollywood. Today, almost 1,000 movies are made in South Indian 4 languages, and Bollywood makes only like roughly 250 films a year. So 250 films versus 1,000 films, the collection of South is far higher. And now when I see the chart, every week, starting this week, 5th of February, there are 4 or 5 or 6 South Indian language movies releasing every week. And I have a chart till June, July. And the movies for even August, September have been declared. Hindi, however, has been sitting little bit on the back seat. For the simple reason, because in the Hindi market, that is where more than half the collection comes from Mumbai and Delhi territory.
Northern India.
NCR territory.
NCR, yeah.
Now in this region, Maharashtra has already declared that their SOPs will continue till end of February. That means they are not going to go to the 100%
capacity
utilization for the month of February. And Delhi has declared 100% capacity utilization, but NCR region, including UP and Haryana, like Gurgaon, Noida, they contribute
Noida,
the collections. Noida, absolutely. So they contribute significantly. In UP and Haryana, still they have not declared. So that is where it is only the Hindi film industry. You see, West Bengal has opened, Karnataka has opened. Movies are releasing constantly. It is only in the case of the Hindi industry which is little bit sitting back. And I think Reliance is already planning, that's what we hear in the industry, the release of Suryavanshi on the 2nd of April. And the moment one big release comes, I think that's the day. And that is exactly the reason, like you talked about that chicken and egg story earlier, that content will not come till the cinemas are open, and cinemas will not open till the content is there. We identified in UFO, and we were providing the digital cinema network. The entire industry was using that network to release the movies, while we were not using that network to release the movies. So identifying this problem, because we all are also service provider to the largest number of single screens in the country. It's not only multiplexes, the industry is made up of single screens and multiplexes. So when we spoke to them, they said until and unless we see 3, 4, 5 weeks
of content,
we can't reopen the theater because our expenses it is cheaper to keep the theater shut instead of opening the theater. Said that why don't we use our network? Because we have already a network. We have 24 offices in the country. We are connected with every distributor, every producer, and every exhibitor. So we said, let us help the industry by getting into distribution and provide a slate. And constantly, week after week, we tied up like Jio's movie. We released Ram Prasad Ki Tervi. We released Shakila. We released 12 o'clock from Mr. Ram Gopal Verma. We released Master actually in half of North India. And we released Master in Telugu language in Krishna district. So we found that the content owners, and because we pretty much took away a lot of their pain in terms of the P&A budget, and we converted our charges into a percentage of revenue so that they don't lose money. So we got a lot of traction.
So yeah, the business models have to be receptive to the environment. Let me bring in Rahul Puri. Rahul, again, you produce content and you also have, providing exhibition in a format that works for certain audiences. Now, give us a sense of, do you feel left out as an industry when you see the budget that no, kind of help has been given to this very important industry, because clearly entertainment kept us going in the last 10 months. People were in their homes consuming the content, and for a lot of people, going to the cinema is an outing. It's not just about entertainment, it's an outing for the family, it's bonding. So give us a sense, why you left out in the lurch by the government, is the feeling, or you expected that this sector will not get anything from the government?
Thank you for asking me the controversial question, Anurag. To be honest, Anurag, the industry, our industry, we don't go into the budget with great expectations in general. We're a big industry in terms of perception, but perhaps not that large an industry in terms of actual revenue. And it's been a while since the government has, frankly, looked at the industry in detail to try and address some of the needs are ongoing. There was a thought, I suppose, given the fact that the entertainment industry, and particularly the exhibition industry, was hit so badly during the pandemic, that perhaps in this budget there could be some thought of some relief, particularly because no relief was granted during the pandemic from the government. I mean, no subsidies or anything like that was given to help us sort of alleviate the fixed. At the end of the day, as Kapilji said, at the end of the day, we can stop the content and keep our cinemas shut, but there's still a fixed cost, right? I mean, there's still a cost of the building that you've got there, the electricity. There's a certain amount that you have to pay. You have to pay for upkeep. I mean, you can't let the thing rot. So there is a certain fixed cost, a certain fixed overhead that theatre owners had to bear, irrespective of whether they were open or closed. And seeing as we weren't granted any relief for that during the pandemic, I suppose there was a hope that maybe during the budget the government would come out with some. But I don't want to dwell on the negatives. And at the end of the day, nothing was offered to us, and that's fair enough. But I'd like to dwell on the positive. And the positive is that the centre has given us now this opportunity for 100% to open our cinemas back up, and that gives us a lot of hope going forward, because even if Maharashtra isn't going to open in the month of February, hopefully it will open in the month of March. And that does mean that hopefully for the next financial year, starting April, we can look forward then to a sort of a clean slate, and we can look forward to a good flow of big arena. South India, I think, has given us be encouraged by over the last couple of months. Master Crack has done very well in South India as well. So, I think that there's a lot of positives for the industry now going forward. And that's what I'd like to focus on, over the next couple of months, to get ourselves so that, when we'll get started.
Kapil, clearly I do to the fact that you have a finished movie ready, which is a big movie, and you're not releasing it in OTT. So when can we see the movie getting released, and how do you see the overall landscape now? The cinema halls are open, and hopefully by April across the country they'll be fully open, hopefully by March. So give us a sense of how do you see the immediate future?
This is for me. I missed the audio.
Yes, Kavita.
Okay. Yes, of course. Now it's again like everyone. We all are hoping to have a good times ahead, and we also definitely are sitting together with distributors and media and all those people to work out strategies which have to be different, and the equations have to be different maybe now on. And yes, we are looking at somewhere. We announced the film last year for May release, and we're hopeful we do it this year, May at least. We try to catch up. And 1 year gone by, and we had to really struggle to survive, as everyone in the industry is doing the same. And yes, we look at big numbers now, and we are very hopeful that it will have a good impact after big releases, and people will be out and will be out of homes and will not be. The way the numbers are going down and the vaccination is also moving forward big time. Overall sentiments are good, and yes, we.
And Savita, Kapil and Rahul explained the fact that how the cinema experience and the numbers in the business case for cinema viewing. Now, you had the choice to release your movie on OTT, and I know you make content for OTT platforms also.
Yes.
Give us a sense of, will the OTT economy continue to thrive? It's an and economy,
The feedback I got from a lot of OTT people, the kind of money they put in on OTT to buy and acquire films, I don't think they were happy about it. And they haven't got the result what they were expecting. And today, even, I don't think for long run, the big budget films will go on OTT, but OTT will have their own kind of cinema, like they already had, small budget, good content and all that, yes.
Niche content, as you would say.
Yes.
Directed at metro audiences, you talked about it earlier.
Correct. So because the audience is limited there, we cannot have, we cannot make big stars and people. The bigger big screen has a bigger attraction, as we all know. So that's important to have, cinema feel, and we cannot run away from that experience. And
okay, I'm just going to make a small interjection from the studio before we take a break, and let me just quickly rope in Savita ji. Savita ji, can you help our viewers understand the economics? Because we were having the same kind of conversation with the F&B guys, and
Yes.
their issue is aggregators, right? Do they go direct to consumer, and their issue is the aggregator is taking away 30-40% of my revenue, which is beyond my margin. So what's the economics? If you were to go through the traditional route of going through distributors and then multiplexes versus OTTs, is there an economic advantage? Is it somebody similar to what it costs you in terms of what you lose or share as revenue?
See, I don't have any share on those F&Bs anyway in theaters, so that's not my.
No, I'm not asking about the F&B industry, ma'am. I'm saying if you go to a distributor,
in terms of the content revenue,
if you go to a distributor and go to the multiplex, and then there is a cost to that in terms of the revenue sharing you have to do or make a straight up payment. Versus an OTT, how does it match up?
See, obviously, as we know that, watching cinema is a big experience. It's an outing, as we just discussed that also. So it is definitely going to have impact overall, even on F&B, or even you buy popcorns, whatever you buy, even that is a separate thing, but this is experience. It will affect everyone.
Okay.
It will definitely
can I answer that, Rishabh, though I'm not a content.
Please.
View, and we can take that question to Kailash Adhikari also. He produces. In my view, when you're talking to when the cinema hall was not an option, there are possibly 2 or 3 OTTs that had the kind of money, power, muscle, kind of audiences that could make up for the cinema business, right? And that by itself reduced your leverage.
Yes.
So I think now the leverage will come back, and from the OTTs also you'll get better rates. I think.
Okay, so you're saying, so now once the cinema makers come back, then the OTTs will have to offer a better deal. Kailash, why don't you come in on this? Because the traditional model of a filmmaker having a distributor who then pays you upfront, so it reduces your risk. Then the distributor shares that risk with the cinema owner. So there was an economics working.
I think it's the other way around. Even OTT was offering a very big money, and it was quite, to go on OTT, to be very honest.
Absolutely.
And during the lockdown, it's not that OTT was not offering. The distributors don't offer you advances today. It's always on profit sharing.
Right.
Okay. And you just, have those kind of, not an advantage anymore, but it's a bigger risk rather to go on cinema halls, and OTT was more clearer.
Okay, interesting. So there is a new economics. Kailash, why don't you take that thought?
Absolutely, there is a new economics, and there's a new economics for different type of content. Earlier, yes. I mean, people love to go to cinemas, and if anyone asks me this question, that what will happen when the cinemas open to 100% capacity now, if now it is depending on each and every state to ratify it now, people will go to cinemas. You know, cinema is a 70 experience. Bade parde ka maza hai. It is a larger than life story, and people love to watch that. Like there is a certain significance of a small of the idiot box, that is a television. There's a certain significance of OTT as well as for films. But what has changed pandemic is that now for that larger than life experience, audience will pay now only for those kind of movies. According to my sensibilities, yes, if there's an 83, if there's a Suryavanshi, you know, those kind of movies, yes, people love to watch to go to cinema. But for other content-driven stories, people will love to watch to have that experience on your OTT platforms. And as Savita ma'am said, for the pandemic, you know, everyone does not have that kind of holding capacity. The people have invested money; they need some kind of exit also after a certain point of time.
Absolutely right.
And OTTs have offered that for small budget, medium budget, as well as big budget movies at that point of time. So OTTs have been helpful for that point of time.
Okay, so are you expecting, Kailash, then you know a little bit of help, because as Anurag pointed out, once the cinemas comes back and the distributors then come back, then it gives more options to filmmakers. Right now, the options have only literally been the OTTs. If you get lucky, so be it. So the guys making the decisions here have been holding the purse strings. Will that make it easier for filmmakers to get funded coming in 2021?
Absolutely it will. Now with the cinemas coming back to the cinemas, for the producer it is or for the presenter. Now all the streams have opened up. You have your box office collection, you have your satellite collection, the satellite rights, and you have your OTT rights. So earlier what was happening, that there was only one medium. Either would take up who has satellite broadcasting as well as OTT.
Okay, Kailash, another quick question before I get Kapil and Rahul back into this. So, you know, if we're looking at the traditional business that I pay, let's say 100 rupees for a particular ticket, okay? Now, percentage of that goes to the cinema owner, percentage of that goes to the distributor, percentage of that then comes back to the original filmmaker. How does OTT, the game work? Is it something similar? Does the OTT keep a percentage? Do they buy off the full thing of the of the producer directly? Do they have profit sharing agreements? What's the most common model?
No. The most common model here, if I can answer that, because
sure, ma'am,
I was negotiating on the same.
Feel free.
Yes,
Savita ji,
it
go
is
ahead.
for the tenure. They give years or so. That's an ongoing trend, and they take it for 7 years. They don't buy out totally.
Okay.
But they cover up your cost and some kind of fixed profit they give you to get those rights
for a period of time. Okay. So you're okay. So you give a copyright for 7 years or 10 years or whatever. Okay. So Kapil Agarwal,
it's not a copyright. It is just a licensing them to release the film.
To release the film. Okay. Kapil ji, why don't you come on this? Because similar to the hospitality industry and the hotel industry, right? What they've been hoping is that a lot of people who have been desperate to get out and are now getting out are going to be occupying hotels. You know, some of them are having 100% occupancy right now. Are you also hoping? Yeah, Anurag, go ahead.
And in the hospitality, the only thing is the ARR. The average room rent has to go up because it dropped by about 50%. So will the ARR go up by?
And that was my question exactly. So then do cinema owners, do you want to attract people back now that they're opening with cheaper tickets? Or are you, and then fill out halls, or are you hoping that the average ticket price will go up to make up for losses of last year?
No, I don't think so.
Let Kapil ji take that, ma'am. Otherwise, this will turn into just an interview. Kapil ji, take that.
So I'll just back up a bit and I'll just take up the previous discussion for 30 seconds.
Please.
You see the difference between going to OTT. OTT works on a very defined price. The offering, taking big movies and giving 150 crore for a movie was an aberration. Normally, the way they work, cost of production take 25%, 30%, 40% above that. It's a cost plus model. So the content makers make defined profit. They don't make the upside. The beauty in going to the theaters first is that a 5 crore film can do 100 crore revenue also. And if it makes 100 crore revenue, money from the set. OTT platforms. So the real profitability for the content owner comes from the box office. That creates the buzz, that creates the profitability, that creates the margins. So that is one point I just wanted to put because that was a discussion which was going on.
Fair enough. So what you're saying is that if something really goes mega blockbuster, 1,000 crores, okay, then the upside for the producer, even the downside is less, but the upside is then less.
and that is created from the box office. That is not created by the OTT or the
Okay,
satellite.
okay, fair enough. Now on the thought, sir, are you hoping 100%, all tickets sold out at a reasonable ticket price?
I think ticket price, this is not so, the demand is not so elastic with respect to the ticket price.
Okay.
So far as we are concerned. If you look at Rishabh, the ticket pricing, the average ticket price in the country, as against our belief, because we are all sitting in the metros and we go to the national chains and where we buy the ticket for 500 rupees, 1000 rupees, 1200 rupees.
Correct.
The average ticket price, if we take out the national chains, even in the national chains, that only 210 rupees. Number one, all India average.
Correct.
Number two, so far as if I take out the national chains, the average ticket price is 70-80 rupees in the country. So pricing is not that high. Now, if you want to go for an outing, like Savita ji said, it's an outing for the family. When you want to go for outing,
Correct.
I don't think the demand is going to go up if you bring the 70 rupee ticket price to 40 rupees. So that is not, I think.
Okay, okay. So you are saying but are you expecting then, sir, that the demand is so pent up and so high, because I can't remember now the last movie I saw it in a cinema hall, and I've got whatever big TV and home theater you can think of, but it's not the same, right? It's an outing value. You meet friends, you go out. So are you hoping that this is going to happen? That people are going to go out there, so ticket prices don't matter in the interim? Kapil ji.
That's right. That's right. So admittedly, I mean, to bring the audiences back, initially there may be some reduction in the prices, but I think very quickly as the good content starts coming back, the prices will go up to the normal level. I mean, you will start seeing it in the month of April, May. That's my perception.
Okay.
I don't think it will
Okay.
go beyond that.
So the chicken and egg situation that Anurag was talking about, Rahul, why don't you help us on this, right? That now, do filmmakers want to see whether audiences are coming back and therefore start investing in big films, or will it be big films that actually bring the audiences back? How do we break that cycle now?
But I think it's already done. I mean, you've got the experience of Master. You've seen what has happened in the South. Here was a film that released to 50% occupancy and has done 200 crores. Globally. I mean, what else? What else do you want as in terms of proof of concept? I mean, that's proof of right there that, if you put the movies that people want to see in the theaters, people will come. And, Kapilji is absolutely right. I mean, there is a pent up demand in the country. And what you'd probably see in terms of pricing is some variations in pricing, shows, evening shows, etc., etc. But generally speaking, the ticket price is not going to change.
Okay, but do we need Rahul Puri? Do we need some real big blockbusters to come out to now drive the industry in 2021, or simply it'll be a flood of movies? Which one should it be?
It'll be a flood of movies. It'll be a flood of movies. It'll be a consistent. The industry requires a consistent flow of films. You can look back a couple of years ago where number of films that weren't your big blockbusters, but they all did 100 crores plus business, and that is because people are habitual. And that is what we need as an industry. We need to get people back into the habit of going to the theaters. There is no point for us if we have one big film that comes in May and then we don't have another big film that comes in September. There's no point of that. We need people to consistently keep going.
So quick question before I take a break and we pick up the conversation on the other side. Rahul, the model of having a film release on a platform which is a cinema hall, wait a couple of months and then release on OTT. Now, does that model come back, or are we ready for simultaneous releases? How do you see it going forward?
No, the primacy of theaters, I think, is going to remain intact.
Okay.
You see, this goes back to the earlier discussion that we were having. Ultimately, a film builds its brand in theaters, and it's its brand that people pay for, right?
Correct.
It is that IPR that people pay for. Right. So if you can demonstrate the power of that brand in the cinema halls, every subsequent platform that you go to will pay you a premium for that brand. So the idea of not going to theaters, I understand why people did it during the pandemic.
Fair enough.
But now, as things are beginning to look more positive, people will absolutely try and make it. To
Okay,
the
so you are
theater.
saying that you don't see the option for a consumer to say that this is also on OTT and the cinema releasing simultaneously, and I have to choose one. You're still saying it'll release in cinema first and OTT later, and of course some movies will not see a cinema release, might go directly to OTT. I'm looking forward to some popcorn and sitting on a seat somewhere. It's not like I can't see the movie at home, but it's just getting out and meeting a friend and saying, meet me at the cinema hall outside at this point of time after work. Let me try to get Kapil Agarwal back into this conversation quickly before I get Savita ji back in also. Kapil ji, you were making some very interesting points in the break, so why don't we pick up from what you were saying?
So what I was saying was that I think during the pandemic, earlier what we saw is that there is a Hindi market, there is a Bengali market, there is a South Indian market, there is a Tamil market, Telugu market. I mean, that is how the country was divided. At best, a Hindi movie could go to only so many screens. At best, a Tamil movie could go to so many screens, or a Bengali movie could go to so many screens, because these markets were segmented. During the pandemic, at the industry level, we have done a lot of thought process and a lot of deliberations we have done across the languages. And what we saw is that it is very, very important for us to make national movies. So bring big Tamil movies, big Telugu movies, dub them in Hindi language, dub them in multiple languages, like the Hollywood movie get dubbed in 5 different languages along with English, and see the all India release. So bring movies on the national level, and that is what is going. And also from the point of view of the single screens, what happens is that single screens don't get more than 15-20 weeks good content on the reasonable terms, and 30 weeks they don't have any good content, and they run the library content. So a lot of South Indian movies, if they start coming to the level, and if the movies start going into other South Indian languages, that will provide consistent feed.
Okay, so good content, and that's a lesson, we've also learned in the lockdown. We're watching this Spanish content, French content, which honestly
Correct.
nobody would ever see. But Savita ji, you were making a very interesting point, which it deserves mention. Why was China such a big market for Bollywood, Tollywood, Collywood? What was it? Why were people consuming our cinema there so much?
Okay, now the point here is that probably they because China produces more of action thrillers and stuff like that. Here we have more human stories, and we have a similar kind of a economy. I mean, there are middle class and poor and upper class there, so they relate to our kind of stories very well.
Okay.
And that was a full entertainment for them. We provide dance and songs and stuff like that, which is not there in their own content. And China was actually in last few years was a very, very big market for Hindi or Indian cinema for that matter. Even we are suffering now, we don't know, because my film has a subject which is very universal, and we were also hoping to get into China big time.
Okay, do you suspect that that's going to go away, that the Chinese, after what all has happened, are not going to be so open to Indian cinema coming in now?
No, it's not audience, it's distributors and the market which at this point of time. Audience won't matter. I don't think audience will have any problem.
Okay.
Okay,
So, yeah.
Rishabh,
Anurag, go ahead.
bring
Anurag.
Kailash into the conversation. Kailash,
Yeah.
Shirika Adhikari brothers have been pioneers over the last 3 decades in content creation. Kapil ji talked about the innovation happening. Savita talked about the change in business model. Rahul focused on the positives. Now, tell us, going forward, what is the kind of innovation you see? And if you had to make 1 or 2 predictions or spot 1 or 2 trends that will become bigger for the film, cinema, entertainment, exhibition space, what would those be?
I'll begin by, one of the experiences that we had. Our film, which was debut directed by my brother Ravi Adhikari, Dheet Patange, which was supposed to go to theaters. And, and looking at the scenario, it was a content-driven story, and it directly released on an OTT platform. And we got great traction for it, And now, to hindsight, if I think that, if it would have been released in the theaters, would the traction be the same? Probably no, because there was a separate kind of content that was only meant for a person who has already subscribed to a particular platform, and he's getting that content in that, the bunch that he has paid. In terms of innovation, I completely agree with Kapil ji that why can't we have, a nationalized, why can't a Suryavanshi release in simultaneous languages together? Because, and that was a trend that, as content creators 20 years ago, when we used to produce content for the national broadcaster Doordarshan. We had a mega show for them called Surab, which used to simulcast on DD National, DD Tamil, DD Telugu, DD because that was the kind of demand from the audience. So I would love to see the same fact in films. Like, why can't a master release in Hindi at the same time? Going forward in terms of innovation and content, yes, there would be certain content which the audience would want to watch on a certain particular platform. You know, as we were discussing, you know, off the record as well, that we all are longing to go to cinemas. And this corollary I demand from restaurants. When restaurants opened up, today there are lines outside restaurants.
Correct.
What is the difference between a restaurant and a cinema hall? That same seat where you go and sit and you dine at the cutlery that you use, that same seat has been used by several people before you. So if restaurants would have opened, and all states have opened about 4-5 months ago, then why the wait for that the central government has opened it? Because that's the same structure, more or less. And if you can see that people, whether it's fine dine or your fast food, people will throng to content in cinema halls. And answering the chicken and egg situation, which was, you know, earlier discussed, and I agree with Rahul as well, that entire question has been answered. Into cinema halls, people will come. Yes, they would have a certain taste that in a cinema hall, when I'm paying let's say a 210 rupees or a 500 rupee, depending upon whether it's an urban or rural area, I would like to watch this kind of content. But people are waiting, and cinema halls will come back to the, you know, to that threshold that they were operating at.
Okay, so Kailash,
Rishabh, you explained this on the show before.
Yeah.
I remember in a conversation, we're talking, you know, educationists, and you said that, you know, think of the last year as a washout year, you know, like, you know, you missed the sessions. Now you take the healthcare industry, apart from the big hospitals suffering, the neighborhood GPs also suffered because you couldn't go. So the loss to the healthcare industry is almost $2.5 billion. Kapilji kind of put a number of $2 billion as the loss to the exhibit and cinema and entertainment and allied industries. Now, clearly, we have to look at the last year as a year, you know, that kind of, if I was a drop year from an education.
You know, but Anurag, I'm just curious, you know, is the wipeout, do we assume that once things open up, because, you know, we did put these questions to people in government over the last couple of days, and they said that the industries that have not fully opened up, we are not coming into right now, because the brakes are on those industries. We can't press the accelerator and the brake at the same time. Now, when they do open up, we will come out and help, So I'm just curious, Kailash Adhikari, is there room? I mean, is there room in licensing, taxes, that once the full opening up happens, that the benefit could still come and it would still be useful, not too late? You know, der aaye durust aaye.
You know, we can be hopeful ki der aaye durust aaye, but as an industry, we should not, you know, place much emphasis on that. We should go ahead with our business model, you know, as discussed, you know, as Rahul said, that as a perception wise, media is a very big industry, but in terms of a percentage of a GDP, I don't think so we count. That's why we don't come much in the lens in that manner. But things such as tax rationalization or, you know, a tax holiday or a GST holiday shouldn't matter for us. We are an industry that, you know, we are propelled by consumer sentiment, and consumer sentiment is here. When consumer sentiment is here, and mind you that, you know, entertainment is the second biggest thing consumed in India after food. If food was consumed during the pandemic, entertainment was also. We saw the spike in terms of that each and every
Correct.
And saw, except cinema, unfortunately. Now with cinemas coming back, we will have media come back together. So yes, there are
Okay.
we can be hopeful. It's good to be hopeful, but yes, our emphasis should be getting back.
Okay,
our
okay. So
consumers
let me
and
put
their
the same
entertainment.
question to Rahul. Rahul, is there if we were to still make recommendations that, okay, once the brakes are fully lifted, and we're almost there now, just the states have to figure it out now, that there is some help that can still be done, which will still be useful, whether it's in terms of lower taxes or tax holidays or license fees, etc., etc.
I mean, that would be wonderful. I mean, frankly, if it came true. But I'm completely with Kailash on this. That you know, we're a very resilient industry. I mean, we've been a resilient industry for donkey's years. And you know, yes, the pandemic came, and yes, it, you know, there were obituaries written of our business and our business model, and you know, we got called dinosaurs, and you know, all of these kinds of things were written about our industry. But these are things that are written about our industry every 20 years. I mean, people remind me of when the VCR came. Obituaries are written about cinema at that point as well, right? But cinema went from strength to strength then also. So I think that as Kailash properly mentioned, the key here is what? It's not about anything else. It's what does the consumer want? What is the demand from the consumer? And frankly speaking, this is a country that loves to go to the theaters.
Okay. So you guys are not feeling gloomy or doomy at all about 2021.
Yes,
we have about 10 minutes left.
not-
Anurag ji, we have 10 minutes
Not
left.
at
Why don't you
all.
take it from there?
Not at all.
Because we don't have expectations like, everyone
Okay,
says that
desire
we
is
have
the
to
root of
ignore.
all evil. The desire is the root of all evil. We've
There's
been
no
told
reason to be gloomy
by
for us.
Siddharth Gautam. Anurag ji, we have 10 minutes
After
left. Why did you take it?
After the last 10 months, I mean, this is the best the industry is looking since the
Okay,
last 10
all right.
months.
Okay, so that's happy news.
If we can't
Anurag.
be positive now, I don't know when we can be.
Anurag ji.
And Rishabh, I read this article in a leading newspaper, the developed world, and the article basically said, and I want to pose this question to all four of them, they're different age groups. The article said that a lot of people like me, you, I know Rishabh are much younger than me, are missing the cinema because we are used to going to the cinema. But if you ask my 17-year-old, is she missing it? No. So the article basically said that the millennials don't really miss cinema. We are nostalgic about cinema because given our past experience with cinema. So I want to list, do you think the millennials in India constitute a large, because OTT consumption is across all, age groups.
Correct.
But millennials for certain, kind of content are the number one viewer. So tell me, in your assessment, do you see millennials thronging back to cinemas?
Can I answer that first?
Yes, Savitri.
If the films like Twilight or something comes on theaters, okay, it again depends who film you're targeting to. If your audience is 16 to 18, then those films can definitely attract them back on cinemas. And if it's a generally family cinema and all that, they might avoid watching with you especially. Maybe they go with their friends. So the segments movie has to be very clearly defined for their own segments today. You cannot make one film for 8 to 80 years old person anymore.
Clearly.
Yeah. So
Okay, that I agree, content, but I'm saying the content may be consumed by, but I'm saying the experience, the habit of going to a cinema, do the millennials have the same, somebody who's 17 years old, 18 years old, 20 years old, do they long for cinema like the way I do? I mean, I'm looking forward to going and watching a movie in a cinema soon, and it could be next 3 to 5 days, as soon as that, as soon as I can find time, nothing else. So clearly, I want to ask Kailash, Rahul, and then come to Kapilji. Kailash, I know you're the youngest on the panel, so let me ask you.
Personally speaking, I want to go back, and even in the month of November, I even went to cinema to see a movie. It was a very a sad picture that only could just count the number of people on my fingers that were there. But yes, I wanted to go and I went there. Answering your question about the millennials, see, even before the pandemic, millennials went to cinema to view a certain kind of content. I mean, it was not that any movie that released on Friday, millennials used to go. And I'm talking, I'm 30 now, I'm talking about age group, much even younger to me, somewhere around, as you mentioned, 18 to 24 or 25. They earlier also never went for, all kind of movies. Like, let's say if a family movie is released and if parents are telling them, on a Sunday, let's go watch Prem Ratan Dhan Payo, they would naturally also, barring the pandemic or not, they would not go. As ma'am mentioned, if a Twilight releases or if an X-Men releases or something, of that sort, they will go. Their content, and for them, it is also an outlet. See, for cinema goers, cinema is an emotion. Like for me and my family, this is personally speaking, we love our Sunday outings. We're waiting for that. The entire family goes, and my father is like, that's my only day where I can have a fried some. These are certain nuances which every family holds. For the millennials, if the content comes, they will go. Because even before the pandemic, they only went for certain kind of content. And if that certain kind of content, a barrage of that content comes on OTT. But the larger aspect, age group mine, 30 plus, as you are waiting, every one of us is waiting, we will go. And for millennials, it was the same story what was earlier. It will be.
Okay, Kailash. Rahul, your view.
So I have 2 points of this. So A, I think millennials have grown up watching content on various different platforms. So yes, they haven't only grown up with cinema as the only platform, right? So we've probably grown up with cinema as the only platform around us for that. But millennials haven't. That doesn't mean that they don't want to go to cinema. Of course they do. If a Marvel movie comes or a big indie film comes, of course they'll go and watch those movies. The other thing that I want to draw is that you mentioned that this article is from a developed country. The point is that cinema going experience over there is very different from the cinema going experience over here. In India, we are still a first day, first show kind of culture because our films don't run for that much. Whereas if you go to the US or you go to the UK, films could run for months over there. And so there isn't that much emphasis on, film released on Friday, let's go and watch it on Saturday or Sunday. That kind of culture is not there. They may go a week later, they may go 2 weeks later, whenever they have time available to. But India is still a country where if a film releases on a Friday, there's almost a fear of missing out. So you go and watch it on a Saturday or a Sunday, pata nahi Monday ko hai ki nahi. So, it becomes that kind of thing. So the culture is also very different here. And, whether that's a millennial or, a Generation X or Z or whatever it is that you want to call them, boomers, I don't know, all of this jargon is around these days. Everybody's waiting to go back to the theaters.
Okay, Savita, Kapilji into the conversation. Do you see, you already said it depends on the kind of content that's a send we could, but do you agree that you, me, Kapilji may not be teenagers, but we are screenagers. So do the millennials like the big screen? Of course, all of us like screens and our life is now inundated by screens. I spend on an average 8 days, so sometimes 9, 10 hours. So tell us, cinema halls opening up, do you see more and more millennials coming out to cinema halls?
See, for them to go to cinema halls, probably the reasons are different. If they are together as friends or groups, they will definitely go, I am very sure of. And again, that kind of movies are getting released also matter. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier also, they might not like to go with families because the age is different. And there are many other ways to get entertained today. Okay, including gaming to everything. Okay, so I do agree that probably the number is less because more and more home theaters have come up also in metros, and kids are not waiting even for that kind of experience. They just want their friends around and watch movies. So things are changing, and we also as producers have to keep that track, and we should not ignore it also, that fact that it's only for theaters, and we have to keep them in mind as audience of future.
Kapilji, your final word.
Well, I would like to bring a slightly different perspective actually. So while on the first point, I agree that the millennials the youngsters watch a particular kind of cinema, and I completely agree with Kailash that their behavior is not the behavior pre-pandemic, and now it doesn't matter actually. They used to watch a particular kind of cinema before, they will continue watching it. But I want to bring an additional perspective here. When we talk of millennials, let us not generalize them. The behavior of millennials from top 50 cities is very different. Today, our screens are in 2,400, 2,500 cities in the country. So the whole behavior pattern of the millennials from top 50 cities is different, and what we just talked about, all of us, will be more applicable to them. The moment you talk, you move beyond 50 or 100 cities where the entertainment avenues and alternative avenues are very limited, their behavior will be very, very different. And those millennials, they go with families, like Kailash said. I also do the same thing, that, with family we go out, we watch a movie in the evening, then we go for dinner. So that's fine on the weekend. But the whole millennials outside of them, which are more and more, the families go together, will be very different.
Okay.
So I think this is the additional perspective I can bring.
Okay, guys, we are running out of time. I'm just going to take a minute for people watching this broadcast. Sri Adhikari brothers, they've helped identify and provide sustenance for more than 1,000 people in the industry during the lockdown period. They've kept that going. Kailash, Thank you for that, and thank you for the other initiatives that you guys have put together to keep things going. Can you help our viewers understand that what are the projects coming up? I know, thank God, you guys are now beginning to produce, but what's releasing right now that we can look forward to quickly?
So Thank God has now gone to shoot, and it will take some time for things. It has resumed only 3-4 months ago. So I mean, it's a long gestation period, but yes, apart from Thank God, there are a couple of projects which we feel that 2021 end, a couple of them will release, and 2022 another couple.
Okay, and what about your Masterminds initiative? How's that going?
Fantastic.
Okay. Rahul, same to you. What's coming up? What's in the pipeline that people out there should be watching out for?
So we have a film that will start shooting in April with Z Studios. We're working on a film at the moment, 36 Farmhouse, and that will begin shoot in April, and we hope to release that by the end of the year.
Okay, great. End of the year coming up. Savita ji, what about you guys?
I'm ready with the Jhund already, waiting for release. And Khosla Part 2 is also in the pipeline this year. And one more film which I'll be announcing soon, which is untitled, and shoot is starting in June.
Okay, Khosla, I'm going to look forward to it. I have to point out I'm 85 born, so I also qualify technically as a millennial. Kapil ji, for people watching out, UFO, of course, you're familiar with them, 3,500 screens across the country. Kapil ji, are they open? Are they good to go? Do I go to your app and start booking tickets? What can I do?
So, number one, I must correct, we have 5,500 screens.
Yeah, 5,500 screens. Okay, even more than that. Okay.
So out of 9,500 screens in the country, 5,500 are on our system, and pretty much approximately 75% of all screens are already open.
Okay.
25% are yet to open. There is only one state, which is the state which is yet to allow the reopening of the screens, but all states.
Okay, so if I want to start booking tickets, do I find an app? Do I find you online? How do I do it?
Well, there are multiple apps. You can book the tickets anywhere, and all tickets are now available online.
Okay, they are available online, so you can get started in a lot of places. Of course, a few states is still pending. Thank you all for this fabulous conversation.
Thank you very much.
And of course, keep reading Business World and keep watching NewsX. Thank you.
For more such videos, subscribe to the NewsX YouTube channel, hit the bell icon.